Episode 9, take 1. Hi guys, welcome back to the 9th episode of Brie T TV. As always, I'm your girl Brie T, and before we get into today's video, I'm gonna make like 3 announcements. Yeah, 3 announcements before we just jump right on in. The first announcement is Happy International Women's Month to all my women and femme presenting individuals. I hope you guys have the best month ever. I hope you guys finally find the courage to step into your true light and just shine as bright as you possibly can, and honor that the fact that you are a boss ass woman. And I want to take the time to honor 2 women I hope to meet in my lifetime, 2 amazing women directors, 2 amazing black female directors and producers. And before y'all say, why does race matter? Why do they have to be black? Why did you have to mention that they're black? Why does it matter or it doesn't matter is your opinion.
Disrespectful to for you. One woman. Red. To you. It is disrespectful to you.
Because as a black woman, as a woman of color, I know for a fact that, especially in media, my opinion is taken less seriously than that of a white woman. So before we start making blanketed statements that it's all for women, you need to be able to acknowledge the discrepancies between how white women and women of color are treated across the board in pay, in respect, in media, in industries across the board. So we're not going to get into that. That's going to be a whole different episode or a whole different video. We're going to keep it rolling. But I would like to honor Issa Rae and Ava DuVernay for just showing it out, showing how to get it done when you really have nothing and you're coming from nothing to make something, and just not to give up, to bring your table. Don't even ask for room at that table. Bring your table. And yeah, I hope to be able to meet them one day just to get some like sparkling insight, or just to feel validated that they like what I do. But anyway, Happy International Women's Month. 2, or Women's History Month, whatever it's called. The second announcement is the Creative Creator segment for this month will be postponed because this week coronavirus or COVID-19 hit the fucking fan for the US, and I live in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is like systematically shutting down, and I'm trying to think of the ethics, how ethical it would be to ask like my interview subjects to come into my creative space or have me come into their personal space. Excuse me. And you know, just kind of like, I don't want them to feel uncomfortable. I don't believe I'm unhygienic or that my interview subjects are unhygienic, but when it comes to this where they don't know who I interacted with, I don't know who they've interacted with, we probably don't know if we interacted with someone who's going to test positive for COVID-19, because the government doesn't like giving free testing to the poor communities and the black and brown communities in the United States, which is where we reside. I just think it'd be best and just ethical to just postpone the interviews and kind of wait until there's more clear understanding onto how to navigate this pandemic. Because like I live in Pennsylvania, and like counties are shutting down. Philadelphia is like partially shut down until the end of the month, which would just push back the segment anyway. So like, yeah, I just think it'd be best if we just shelve that. But also bring me to announcement 3. I'm considering shelving Creative Creator segments as a whole just for the time being, because again, going back to COVID-19, a lot of things have been shutting down, and a lot of universities in the city and in the state have been shutting down, as well as across the country. But more particularly, all of the creatives I would want you guys to see and showcase their work are now displaced or partially displaced and trying to find income, or moving back to different states, or adjusting their life to this new pandemic. So I just think shelving the whole like episode structure and taking it off the website just for the time being would be best, because what kind of creatives can I interview if they're working on things that are not creative and they're trying to situate their life, which is completely understandable. I'm one of the lucky ones that my life hasn't been too shaken up about from this pandemic, but I know a lot of people who have to really reframe their entire mapping for the time being. So creative creator segments will be shelved anyway, so there will be no more announcements about them at the end of the videos. Okay? With that being said, let's get into this week's video. Okay. Welcome to episode 9. In episode 9, it's going to be pretty short, but it's something that I'm working through as a director and a filmmaker and a creative right now that I thought would be nice to share. And we're going back to sharing tips because next week we're going to dive into analyzing and like calling out shitty media again, because a lot of people seem to have liked those videos when I call out shitty media practices. But like I said, I'm going through this kind of motion now that I thought I would share it. So as you can tell from the title, how to get over your pre-production slump and creative block, right? Now, before we say anything, you guys know that I absolutely feel that pre-production is like the bread and butter of your production. Like, it is the foundation of your project. Like, if you don't have a solid foundation, for my beauty gurus, your makeup is going to look horrible, right? If you don't properly detangle your hair, it looks like a rat's nest. Like, pre-production is literally, in my opinion, but in the opinion of a lot of other creatives, the cornerstone that's going to set up how successful your project's going to be. If you just half-ass pre-production and don't put as much time and effort into it as you would production, you're really just wasting your time and whatever budget you have in production, because by the time you get to post, you're going to hate what you have because it doesn't make sense unless you're going for that. But even with abstract videos or like really symbolic, heavy use of symbolism videos, they have to make sense in somehow. And if the director and creator can't make sense of it, your audience is not going to pay any attention to it. So, pre-production is extremely important. However, pre-production can get really, really, really mind-numbing. And then you hit a slump and then you question everything, okay? So currently, for the last week and a half, well, for the last couple of months, last month, I have been in pre-production mode. While I got one interview and I was able to touch production, which was really nice, most of my time surrounding by my new film has been in pre-production, gathering facts, gathering interviews who I would potentially contact, gathering statements and typing up forms and documents and looking at the legality and like making sure that I have like my sources and all of that, right? I have a really great big binder. I should have brought it with me in here, but I don't have it right now. A really big binder. Well, it's kind of small, but there's a couple of them. Binder full to the brim of just like paperwork and like writings and like testimonials and quotes and things that I want to look at and like angles I want to take, shot lists, storyboards, they're all jammed in there. And last week I found myself in this slump where like I was in such a great mood, like I was churning out like great ass stuff, and then all of a sudden I hit this slump and like everything I think about my film I feel sucks and I don't want to continue it. And that's where you can kind of get dangerous, okay? Because we're creatives. We thrive off of being on set, interviewing, being behind the camera, shooting, audio, talking to people. We thrive off of that. So when you're stuck in pre-production where you're really limited to how creative you can be with your actual camera, it can get really, really hard to stay motivated when you're like trying to churn out just like black and white spreadsheets and docs and PowerPoints and right, okay? So here are 4 tips that I have been literally utilizing before I turned on this camera and when I'm going to turn off this camera and pick up pre-production again, okay? Tip number 1. Tip number 1, make a checklist, okay? Make a checklist that you would need throughout pre-production and throughout the rest of your film. This helps so you don't feel overwhelmed and feel like you forgot something and then give yourself a panic attack that like you're unprepared. Okay, so make a checklist, go through your equipment, see, like, make a checklist of week one, I'm going to go through my equipment. Week two, I'm going to start fact gathering. Actually, week one should be trying to figure out what kind of film you're making. Are you making a documentary? Are you making a fictional film? Do you, where are you going with this? Week one, figuring out what kind of film you're making. Week two, check your equipment. Week three, find a writer. Find your, go down this checklist. Think of it as a shopping checklist, a shopping pre-production checklist, and have that checklist with you when you open your pre-production book or your files or your docs or your hard drive, and just check it off one by one. This helps you from feeling completely overwhelmed. Even though you were in a good stride of gathering all of your pre-production stuff, you're gonna hit this feeling of overwhelmness. Have that checklist there. Have something remind you that you hit it all, so you don't get overwhelmed and then you feel like you just have a mess in your hands and nothing is clear. So I like to treat it as, like I said, a pre-production shopping checklist. If you need another example, treat it like a Thanksgiving shopping list. You have to do pre-production for Thanksgiving, which is buying everything, making a list of everything, prepping everything. Production is cooking it, and post-production is eating it. Treat it like that. Get your shopping list ready for pre-production so you can limit the amount of overwhelming feeling you will have when you're in the middle of actually gathering everything you need. Okay, because I'm currently gathering like research and statistics and psychiatry quotes and like analyzing all of this. It can get really overwhelming. So I had decided to write a checklist of what I would need and go through my production book and check off, make little notes and check off and keep going. Okay, number two. Number two is a testament to utilizing you as a creative. Number two is to visualize, okay? Make a vision board. I got these nifty little cork board things from Target for like $4. There's 3 of them. And then I brought thumbtacks, like really cute thumbtacks. And my plan is, after this, to visualize my film. This comes in handy because you are a visual thinker. You work visually. You wouldn't be a visual creative if you didn't have a camera, right? Creating for us is visual, right? We need to create. Print out some examples. If you're doing a documentary, print out pictures of your subjects. Print out pictures of locations. Print out little sound bites or quotes that you think that could really resonate with your film and put it here and kind of frame it out that way. This really comes in handy if you're not a good artist when you're coming to storyboard. I'm not. I draw stick figures, so I tend not to storyboard by hand. And this is how I end up storyboarding, is making small vision boards like this based on who I'm interviewing. If you're doing a fiction film where you need a script, get pictures of people that represent each character. Write out the little a little paragraph for each character. Use one for every scene. If this is going to be a fight scene, who's going to be on it? Where's the fight scene? What are they saying? What's the most important thing that comes out of this fight scene, right? Leave it here, visualize it. Just so, again, it is pre-production because you can kind of see how what you're gathering is making sense on visually, and that can help guide you later on. Okay, so try to be visual as much as possible throughout pre-production, because again, we're visual creatives, and when we're only working in black and white data sheets and spreadsheets and documents in our hard drive, it can kind of get really, really messy when you're not being visually creative. So pick this up. I wish they go to AC Moore's, but they're closed, but you can check on Amazon. I got this for $4 at Target. You can try Target. I'm in the school section or the office section, but you can get an even bigger one if you want that one. I got little ones because one's Brie TV, one's Brie's Cameras and Curls, and then one's my film, and I alternate based on that week. But that's because I have the system, and I'm gonna fill this one in once I turn off the camera. So, like I said, Target $4, but I'm pretty sure Amazon has them for cheaper, for much more. And yeah, be visual as much as possible. Alright, so number three, I feel you need to continue to utilize even when you're outside of pre-production. But number three is to talk it out, okay? talk out your pre-production to someone you trust, right? Someone whose opinion you value and who's going to give you good feedback. This is really helpful because once you hit a slump, you start questioning if things make sense, and that's a really good thing. Don't try to say like, oh, now I'm questioning the integrity of my film. No, you should always question if your film makes sense. And so when you have an outside party, because you've been looking at this with new old eyes, and you need fresh eyes, and you invite an outside party and you lay out the synopsis for your film and you lay out what you've gathered and explain why you gathered this information, and you feel like there isn't a good connection, that person will be able to rein you in and say, oh, this doesn't really make sense here, and it's something you could have missed because it looks this big to you, but it's humongous for an audience. Okay, so get a test audience. Having a test audience in pre-production is extremely helpful. It's quite unheard of because everybody wants to keep their project hush hush, but you need to be able to talk about your project. It goes back to having pitching skills when you're pitching it to your audience, and you're pitching it to investors, and you're pitching it to, film festival. They want to know how you can explain this, and having that audience that you're pitching to in pre-production can help you hone those skills if you're not a great public speaker yet. But it can also show you how your vision isn't quite fleshed out in certain ways for your audience to see it. Okay, and that can help you get out of your slump, because most times your slump is you think that there's nothing else your film or pre-production needs, but then deep down it feels like something is missing and you can't identify that. Ask someone, just one person you trust, whose opinion you value, and have them be an audience there. I have 2 people who I go to all the time and literally bring all 3 binders I have, and I go step by step and explain why I have each one. And literally the feedback I get helps me remove stuff that may be unnecessary, I may not be able to use, or doesn't really make sense for the direction I want to go in. Because when you're in pre-production, you're like, I'm just going to grab and grab and grab and grab and grab and get all this facts and get all this information and get all these spreadsheets and do all these budgets, and then you kind of lose sight of what direction you're trying to go in. So always try to talk your idea out in pre-production and take it off of paper and use verbal words and commands and descriptions. And sometimes it's better to hear it for yourself too. Hear someone, even if it's yourself, talk about your film and help you work it out. Okay? That's number 3. And then last but not least, number 4, self-care. Right? Wait, we're talking about pre-production. Self-care is extremely important, okay? Because as a creator, we're easily burnt out, okay? When you hit a slump in before I even get there, pre-production for a film or for a project does not take a weekend. It usually takes 6 months to a year. For example, have you guys seen Hair Love? Hair Love is a short animated film that won the Oscars in 2020. And it's a really, really great film. It's under 10 minutes, I believe. I think it's like 7 minutes. I don't remember the exact time code, but it's under 7 minutes or 10 minutes. And it's a really, really cute film. I absolutely loved it. However, the creator said and posted it and reminded himself regularly that this idea was starting to be worked on in 2016. 4 years it took to conceive this idea. And in 2016, he was just getting all the research done and getting the prep work for production. And the final piece didn't come out till like December of 2019. So basically 2020, 4 years. So with that being said, pre-production takes time. Production takes time. A film, a project takes time, okay? So, with that being said, when you're hitting a lull or a slump in pre-production, step away. Don't burn yourself out trying to figure out what's going on. Step away. Take a self-care day. Take a self-care week. Go be a young adult. Go to the club. Go party. Go have fun. Go see your friends. Go do something that interests you. Go take your camera and take cute pictures somewhere else. Scroll on TikTok. Make a TikTok. Do your deep skin care routine. Do your hair. That's what I do when I have a slump, and I'm in a slump right now. Today, after I shut this off, I'm going to do a complete self-care regimen. I mean, my bathroom is going to be my temple for the next couple of hours, right? Because I just need to step away. Sometimes a creative slump or a creative block isn't something because you are missing something in your project. It's not because you can't visually see it. Sometimes it's not those things. Sometimes it's really just your creative juices telling you we're running on empty and you need to recharge. And you need to recharge your body. Don't burn yourself out in any stages of production. Identify that that's what it means. Be able to think clearly and say, okay, this slump is really just me. I'm running on low and I need to take care of myself. You can't give quality work when you're not taking care of yourself, right? And we all want to give quality work, not the quantity, quality. And you can't do that when you're running on empty and you're burning yourself out, because I guarantee you work on a burnt out creative, you're getting nothing worth seeing and you're just going to hate yourself afterwards. So number 4 is really just taking care of yourself, identifying when your creative juices need recharging and when you need to take a step back from your project and just be you. Take off the director's hat, take off the creative hat, and just be you. Spend time with your family if you don't have a toxic family. I'm jealous of y'all. Spend time with your friends if you have friends. Jealous of y'all. Spend time doing something else. Find a new hobby. Find something that makes you happy. Walk your dogs, pet your cat. I don't really know. Anything that makes you feel calm and content and allows you to relax and recharge. Utilize that before you jump back in. Because sometimes, like I said, slumps are creative blocks. Your creativeness telling you, we're running on low. We need to recharge, okay? And that is it. Those are the 4 steps that I'm currently working through every day since I got into my creative slump, which was last Tuesday. So it's been about a week since I've been in a creative slump. And I tried my checklist, and that worked, and I was able to get some more stuff done. And then I got into another slump, and then I tried visualizing and making storyboards and vision boards, and that helped a little bit. I tried talking to friends, and that helped. And I was still in this slump, and I realized that I'm burning myself out. And I think as a creative, it's key for you to be able to identify which step you're on when you're in a slump, and understand that this is not just for like pre-production. This could be applied to production and post-production, especially post-production where you're kind of isolated again and you're editing, and it depends on how well you like editing. But the biggest takeaway I want you guys to know is to be able to identify when you're feeling burnt out. No one wants a burnt out creative, okay? Okay. Well, that's it for this episode of Brie T TV. As always, I'm your girl Brie T, and thank you for watching episode 9, and I can't wait for you to come back for episode 10. It's going to be a doozy. I'm really excited about episode 10, which is why episode 9 was kind of short, because I want all your attention to next week. Because why? My job shut down, so I'm going to be in quarantine, so I have plenty of time to do this video.